Well, Kevin, I know that on our most recent podcast, you've been talking a lot about an upcoming event. And I thought it was a really good chance for us to sit down and be able to explain a little bit more about what the SmallSat Education Conference is. So tell us a little bit about what you plan to do and kind of why you decided that this needed to even be done in the first place.
Okay, thanks. Let's talk about the why, and then we'll talk about the what we plan to do. So for several years, I have taken members of my CubeSat development team, the Wolfpack CubeSat development team in particular, to the world's largest gathering of small satellite builders, which is called SmallSat in Logan, Utah, on the Utah State University campus. That's quite a haul for us from Florida, and it actually occurs about the time of year when a lot of students are going to school. Combine that with the fact that I felt there just wasn't enough pre-college content at the satellite conference, and the fact that we're in Florida, very close to KSC. The idea was, why can't we do a satellite conference of our own for small sats, in particular focused on educators and students as young as middle school through the university, and then provide an outlet for those that want to do CubeSats or high altitude balloons, but are unable to get to Logan, Utah every year in early August.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, why do you think that there isn't more of this kind of opportunity here in Florida, considering Kennedy Space Center is right there and SpaceX and all the launches that are happening out at that location?
We are living in it is a very interesting time because, with the retirement of the shuttle, the wheels were already in motion to try to recreate Florida's aerospace economy. Folks like Frank DeBello and Space Florida were literally charged by the Florida legislature to help entice new companies to come to Florida, to help create new companies, and to help retain the great aerospace companies we have. So Florida has done a seismic shift, if you will, a really noticeable shift in the we just launched shuttles sort of vein into we're going to build satellites, we're going to build rockets, and we're going to up the tempo from 2 or 3 launches a year at Kennedy Space Center to 1 a week. So that speaks real well for us. Now, on the other side of that coin, there's workforce. There are workforce needs that are very difficult to meet now. And it's not just Florida. There's an explosion in this sort of small satellite, smaller rocket market. And you hear it all over the country. It's very difficult to find enough of the correctly skilled or the right fit kind of employees for your aerospace companies. So if you're an educator and you enjoy aerospace, you can see the need there. We're not making enough technicians and engineers to fulfill the needs that we have in this emerging new space economy. And as we move out into space and actually create economies in space. So our conference, we think, aligns nicely with a lot of these events and trends that are going on.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the conference. So an educator, we call it the education conference. Who is your target audience? Who should be considering, coming? And if they do come, what should they expect?
So first off, the target audience are educators and students from middle school through college. They are the ones we're really focused on. In fact, we are not charging any attendance fee or any registration fee for our conference for educators and students. Now, a student coming on their own needs to be accompanied by a parent because we're not, we can't watch hundreds of students without some supervision. But also educators are coming at no cost to register for them as well. And what we really want to do is help build an infrastructure of folks that are like-minded as to the importance of how we can use aerospace to inspire our next STEM workforce, our next generation of the STEM workforce, help get them into that pipeline in middle school, and maybe start with high altitude balloons. And if that's where a teacher or a school can get their kids a high altitude balloon, is a pretty good proxy as you move down the road toward building a satellite. Some schools, here in Florida, one high school and Our middle school age group team, we've launched 3 satellites between us. Mustang was I believe the name, SmallSat was the name of the CubeSat that was launched by a high school up near Space Coast. And down here, the Wolfpack have been responsible for 2 NASA CubeSats.
Right. So if they sign up, right, and obviously we'll put the note in the chat about where to sign up, but it's at smallsateducation.org. What's going to happen? So it's a 2-day event. Are there speakers? I mean, what does the schedule look like?
We have tried to bring in the very best young minds, especially. We believe that the closer you are to the age of the students, if you're doing some real, genuine, authentic aerospace, especially with the satellite building, then you're the ideal person to share that with kids that may be only as, that may be only as young as 8 to 10 years younger than those students. So we've asked area or regional universities that have really good aerospace programs, and they have confirmed that they are coming to attend and exhibit, and also companies. So if you think about entities like the University of Florida, the University of Central Florida, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, we've invited Georgia Tech, and I'm very proud to let you know that our friends at the United States Naval Academy, they'll be coming to exhibit and present. They have a very strong CubeSat program, and that's just a part of, every year they're building satellites at the academies, at least the Air Force and the Naval Academy. So we're really glad they're here. Additionally, we have some companies that are going to both exhibit and present and network with the educators at a luncheon. So we're going to have a luncheon for educators on Saturday. And we have some companies that specialize in helping educators get started. In particular, I want to mention Near Space Education. Now, they're a nonprofit 501c3 that spun out of Near Space Launch, which is a hardware, design, build, test, and they fly CubeSats, and they have a very extensive high altitude balloon program, and they're located in Indiana. So they'll be doing a couple of sessions. And we also have some other vendors that have software, hardware related to balloons and satellites that educators may choose to use.
All right, so it sounds like you have 2 audience targets. We're looking at students middle through university level, so it allows for some of the younger students to kind of engage with maybe some of the actual teams that are there at the universities. It sounds like we're going to have teachers from whether it's middle all the way up to university as well. It sounds as though it's going to be kind of a really great opportunity, not only for the younger people and teachers to kind of work with the generation right above them, but maybe even get ideas about how they can work in their classroom, or ultimately for students who are thinking about school and their college kind of goals. Is that accurate?
Yes, I feel like based on our experiences at SmallSat, when we took our students there, the ability or the opportunity to not only hear from folks that are in the aerospace field that are building these small spacecraft, but also to interact with them is very inspiring and does help young people help them actually realize that they can do this. Not only that, they come up with ideas. I've had numerous students that come up with payload ideas for our satellites at a conference. So if we can bring in lots of students and educators and have them see what this world is like, the SmallSat world and the high altitude balloon world, these educational tools, they're very inspiring just by themselves. But if you couple that with meeting young people who are enthusiastic and doing that work, I think that's a really great combination for helping our attendees walk away with knowledge they can use, potentially some inspiration about what they could do, and they're helping to build their network as they move towards the STEM pipeline.
Right, and with so much going on with space and the news, with Artemis happening as well, it seems like, and with all the launches that seem to take place, it does seem like a natural kind of content to start including in one's classroom. But I would be curious, and I would be hesitant, do I have to know anything about CubeSats to come, or can I just kind of show up as a blank slate?
No, no, you certainly don't need to be a satellite expert to come to our conference. In fact, as we teach our students that start out on our teams, everybody starts as a blank page, right? At one point in life, everyone is just a blank page. So just come if you're interested in science and engineering and technology, and especially aerospace. If you are interested in maybe how does a satellite work and how does someone as young as 11 or 12 years old get involved with an authentic satellite program, come to the conference. Meet undergraduates and grad students and high school students and middle school students that actively design, build, test, and fly real spacecraft.
Right.
We think it's really good real world experience to do that. And it really sets you up, I think, to be competitive as you move forward in your high school, college, or even in your career.
So older, like high school teachers, if they had a team, they could bring up a team as long as there was an adult sponsor for them. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
It's a parent, right? So teachers, I believe on the website, if you have a small STEM group that meets after school, or even homeschool parents who have kind of maybe a pod where they're working, could theoretically come up with one parent and register that way as well, right?
Yes, I'm thinking about Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Civil Air Patrol, First Robotics teams, any after school STEM team would be an ideal group to consider to coming to our conference. Also, if teachers are thinking about forming a team, they don't have to have a team to come. Right. An educator may come by themselves, or they may bring their students. We only ask that if they bring their students, they are the chaperone for their students that day. We need them to stay as a unit and act accordingly.
Well, and with educators, I'm pretty sure we can also provide the professional development certificate for those who are looking to do that, just a certificate that says you attended as well. Is it my understanding that everyone who attends, and this is particularly perhaps of interest to the students, but they'll be able to access the Kennedy Space Center Park as well?
Absolutely. So we'll try to have a nice, we're hoping to have a nice swag bag for our attendees. We're having an educator luncheon, which is at no cost to the educators, and where they'll really get some one-on-one time with the folks that know that have the educational content. But one of the biggest benefits of us having our conference at the Center for Space Education building inside the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Center is that you do get access to the park for the rest of the day. So we're going to start. Folks will line up to go through the magnetometers at 9 o'clock. They'll go through the gates at 9 o'clock, walk past the Rocket Garden, just due north and a little bit west of the Rocket Garden is the CSE building. We'll start at 9:30. We're going to have a really great VIP. I don't want to get ahead of myself and announce who it is, but we'll have a really nice keynote. And then we'll work through the day. We're going to have some food trucks at the CSE building for lunch for those that want to buy a lunch.
That's an option. We may have it catered for the teacher's luncheon.
The educator luncheon is
set in stone, but it will
be the educator luncheon is separate, from the potential for food trucks. But you can also eat in the park. Then at the end of the day, when we're done about 3:30, you're free to roam the park and enjoy Kennedy Space Center until they close. Sunday morning, we'll start again at 9:30 and we'll end at 12:30. So we're offering at least, I'm not sure the exact number, but it'll probably be at least 12 hours of professional development and a certificate,
right, over the course of the 2 days
for educators that attend.
Great. Okay. Well, if someone wants to register, just give a shout out to the webpage again and kind of walk through that kind of process, because if you're a teacher or student, right, you have to be able to show you are who you say you are. So there's like a registration form that's separate where they'll upload that in advance.
Yes, and so we have different levels of registration. If you're an educator or a student, there is no cost to attend. If you are a parent accompanying your child to the conference, you are most welcome, but we're charging $25 for a parent that's accompanying their child. If you're an adult, like, for instance, an exhibitor, a vendor, et cetera, and we welcome, adults and professionals that are interested in aerospace. If you're welcome to come to our conference as well. Those are $50. We do have exhibitor tables available, and we have one cost for universities and nonprofits, and we have a little higher cost for our companies. And if you'll reach out to us through the webpage, we'll be glad to help you with that process. The website is SmallSat smallsateducation.org. That's one word, smallsateducation.org.
All right. Well, I think that covers it. I know I'm excited about being there. One thing we didn't talk about was the potential for the legislative panel. So before we close this kind of bonus episode of the podcast, we are thinking about having this legislative panel with some of our Florida state representatives or senators. Why is it important to discuss aerospace in our political realm?
So in the context of our conference, we thought it was important to have a legislative or legislators on a panel for a number of reasons. One, the aerospace sector of the Florida economy is incredibly large. It's very important. Aerospace is actually one of the few sectors in the US economy where we have a net export surplus. We actually export more aerospace than we import. And that's a very strong sector. I would also point out, as an individual, it's very important to the state of Florida, but also for individuals, there are a number of unfilled and existing good paying aerospace jobs. I often joke with my students that there are no low paying jobs in space. So we've got this conflux of a changing space economy, a growing and new space economy. We have a strong desire at all levels in Florida to increase that portion of our Florida economy. We have a strong need to have highly skilled workforce. And I'm talking from technicians with a 2-year degree and certifications through engineers and managers and on up. So there's a lot of room to grow in aerospace if you're just starting out. They are good paying jobs. We can't seem to fill enough of them. And we have sort of a really nice time in history where there's a coordinated effort to really make this happen. There are new rocket companies in Florida. There are new support companies. There are companies building satellite factories in Florida, especially around the Space Coast. So now is the time to think about, if you're young moving forward, hey, this is a great opportunity. I can do good work. I can make good money. If you're an existing person in the workforce, this is something to look at. And there's great places to get training in the state of Florida, and there are great places to work.
So it's for workforce development because we do have this industry here, but it's also the importance of what we like to refer to as experiential real world STEM education and the need for that in our Florida schools to make sure that we're connecting industry with that curriculum. Is that also true? Absolutely.
We really, where the Wolfpack and the Aerospace and Innovation Academy positions itself is at the Venn diagram intersection of aerospace education and policy. So we really do need to coordinate what we do in the classroom so that it complements the needs of the workforce. As I mentioned, we've got these good paying jobs. We need a lot more folks to fill them. Folks need good paying jobs. They end up paying more taxes when they have good paying jobs. So it's a self-fulfilling sort of cycle that if we can be proactive down here with the 12-year-old and help funnel more of those, more women, more diverse, folks into the STEM pipeline, we will end up with a much stronger economy. And it's just good for us as a state as well. All right. Well, I know that this is going to be a really exciting event. If you're listening and you know of a teacher who might be interested, please share this information with them. If you know a legislator who would be interested or who has a passion for space as well, who'd like to take part in our legislative panel, please share out our contact information. And certainly we hope that you'll register again by going to that website, smallsateducation.org. And again, if you're a teacher or student, clicking on the Google form link that will allow you to clarify additionally who you are coming as and a place to upload your either ID or your certification as well. We would, and one last note, educators, you're welcome to bring students. We will need you to itemize that through our Google form. We just need to know how many students are coming, and we need to know them by name so we can keep track of everything. Make sure that they are taking all care of when they get there. Well, perfect. So as we like to say during our podcast, we hope that you find these to be entertaining and engaging as well, but we hope that this particular bonus episode will find you joining us October 29th and 30th at the SmallSat Education Conference when we say, let's go to space.